Welcome, everyone. My name is Joy Langley, and I'm an emotional intelligence coach, and I'm also a therapist. And I help business owners to basically build a strong mind so they can have a strong business. And that encompasses all the areas to do with mental challenges, emotional challenges. As you can see, everything that can go wrong does go wrong, including doing a live audio. But we have to be prepared. So, my guest today is a very special guest, someone that I've known for a good year and a bit. And Antréa Ferguson, yes, I'm going to just read what I've got down here just to help me along. But Antréa's come from quite a sort of very multifarious background, basically in terms of education, but also she has emotional intelligence going through her, as we say in the UK, like a stick of candy rock. So she's got emotional intelligence that's been baked into her somehow. And I'll talk to you some more about her life, but she's gone off and done her studies, not only just within the USA where she lived, she's gone abroad and done all kinds of things to do with healthcare. She cares about human beings. But the basic idea around Antréa is about healthcare and people. And it's just continued to go through all the way to today where she works with Shanks X and she is the chief operating officer there. So I probably have to salute her, I think, which I will, and I'll bow as well. So without further ado, I think I'll just jump into asking my guest today, Antréa Ferguson, what's happening? So Antréa, first of all, the time in where you are, it's 1 o'clock in the UK. What time is it where you are?
Well, hello, Joy. Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be on your show. I have enjoyed thoroughly your interview, but it is 7 a.m. Central Time in San Antonio, Texas, and I'm happy to be here.
Lovely. And we've got some people saying that they can hear us clearly. So you know what? I'm happy about that. So thank you very much for sharing that. Really, really, really appreciate it. Okay. So Andrea, going to be walking through just the journey through your life, which has been quite an interesting one. As a former therapist, still doing all that therapy stuff, fair enough, but now working with business owners, I my ears went, oops, I get like that.
So I've kind of been chief operating officer without knowing it for a while. I definitely found myself making sure that there was things running smoothly and in order. I kind of feel like I love checklists and I love having protocols and clear steps to follow. I think I definitely get that from my dad. So he's really good at that in business and on the job. And then in personal life, it didn't always transfer over. So I would find myself, people looking to me to make sure everything was in its place and a place for everything. And I don't mean to say that I'm like the most, OCD, neatly ordered everything in my life, but I definitely want to make sure that I'm leaving a place better than when I found it. So I would find myself doing these things to make sure that we had routine. And it just like I traveled quite a bit. And whenever I would come back, I would just do what I could to make sure that we didn't have, I guess, a lack of.
Chaos. Chaos
Yeah,
might be the word to come up with. Making
absolutely.
sure that
Because,
things were not chaotic. So, and
yeah.
you're the kind of person that I think I'd need to have around me all of the time, Andrea, completely all of the time. So, yeah, that's an interesting way to be for a young child because, pardon me, there aren't many young children that are organized. It's normally someone following you and saying, pick this up and do that. And oh my God, you've made such a mess again. But it sounds as though you were that little, I don't know, 5-year-old, 6-year-old doing that for everybody else.
Ooh, 5 or 6 years old, making sure everything was
I
in
don't
order.
know.
I mean, I don't know if it was that young. I definitely remember in my adolescence for sure coming back. And it's not like everything was in chaos. I just wanted to always make it a little bit better.
You were the person that everyone looked to for that. And I love that story because you took it over into your school life as well and organizing your friends, which was very interesting. Someone's just said you're an excellent analyst. You see a problem and you try to fix it in business and in life. You're an
Aw,
excellent
thanks,
speaker.
Charles.
Charles, Charles likes you, doesn't he? He loves you. Look, Charles, I'm putting your comment up there so that Andrea can really just bathe in that comment. Thank you very much. So yeah, school friends as well, organized your school friends. When it came to exam times, you were the person that was calming everybody down and handing out instructions, Andrea.
It's so funny because, I had my admin ask, "Have you always been so calm and positive and this and that?" And, I looked back at first, I was like, "Well, yes, no, kind of," and then it just hit me. I had this flashback of when I was in grade school, and we were getting ready for an exam, and I just remember being like, "Okay, everybody, nobody panic, calm down," and I started writing out 3 steps for how to stay calm for an exam or a pop quiz, and it was, take a deep breath, 2, get a drink of water, 3, make sure you go to the bathroom. And it sounded so juvenile, but to this day, I find that actually innately, somehow, intuitively, I knew that the only way to be able to overcome these times of high stress moments was to settle your body. And that's how you do it. I basically do the same thing now that I was doing then, which is take a deep breath,
Have a
um,
drink of water.
have a drink, stay hydrated, do all of those things that are that help your nervous system, and so you're not distracted in the middle of an exam. I don't care if you're in elementary school, if you're taking an SAT, if you're, studying for the bar exam, as you're going to be a lawyer, or if you're doing negotiations, whatever you do. I kind of knew there's some things that I could do, and it wasn't just for myself. I was writing this down, and I was handing it out to as many as I could, as many of my colleagues as, like, I guess, my classmates at that time. Even from a young age, I was doing that, and, I didn't know, actually, it's not so juvenile, it's not so, it's not small beans. It actually helps you even as an adult.
Pretty sensible. It's pretty sensible, Andrea. You were born big is what I call as well, when you have that kind of intelligence from such a young age. And I'm all about emotional intelligence. It's the buzzword, but it's also, for me, it's a word I've been practicing without even it being called emotional intelligence, but emotional awareness, the ability to regulate your emotions in the moment, whether they're high emotions or low emotions, being able to control that, being self motivated and having lots of empathy, which just comes through completely, and social interaction. So being around people. You're ticking all my boxes already, Andrea. So it's amazing that you're doing all of that. And then this whole idea about caring about people, it's been like the thread that holds your whole
Mm,
life together, because healthcare has become a really, really big thing for you. But let's go back to, your journey into like perhaps I don't know, the training that you did that set you off on this path to knowing that healthcare was where you needed to be at. What was it
mm.
like? I don't know, is it college degrees, all that kind of stuff? What was the pathway through for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I tried to escape healthcare, but couldn't really. No, I loved it. So I had always had an interest somewhere in health, whether it was being a counselor, which is what I was interested in when I was young at some point, counseling, then it became psychology. I did 3/4 of my undergraduate degree was psychology. But even in high school, I took a medical magnet program that you have to test into it, and then all of the tracks were changed from, like, earth science to anatomy and physiology, or to something that was preparing you to go into a field in the medical career. And I remember when I actually worked at the Maricopa Integrated Health System, I was 14 years old. And so that's quite young to be exposed. And I was taking care of diabetic patients. I was doing blood pressure and blood sugar checks, glucose checks, all of these kinds of things.
At the age of
Did
14?
electrocardiograms.
At
Sorry?
the age of 14,
At
you
the
were
age of
doing all of
14.
that?
And there was a doctor, I'll never forget his name, it was Doctor Patel, and he looked at me and he said, "You have a glimmer in your eye. Would you," and he knew that I was a part of, at my school, Alhambra High School in Phoenix, shout out, Arizona, that I was taking that track in the medical magnet program, and he asked if I would like to assist him, watch him do a quadruple bypass heart surgery. And so I mean, that's something that med students wanna do, right? So I was very privileged to be able to take part in that, watch that whole procedure, that whole operation, which you probably can't even get that close anymore. And I was just in love with taking care of people. At some point, I decided not to go into medicine as a in that particular field, not as a cardiologist, not as an MD or anything like that. But I always maintained this interest in with the public. So I went into public health nutrition, international public health nutrition. And I actually, this was after undergraduate school where I graduated in Spanish and because I knew that was a population that I wanted to help as well, and Latin American studies. And then I actually ended up studying over your side at your side of the pond in the
You
UK.
came to the UK, you came to the
Yeah,
UK.
where it
You
just
are,
shook up my world.
so so the public healthcare thing, like I said, it's just one of the things that you do. It's just the way that you are. But the training that you had, as you said, at such a young age, you've been given the opportunity to attend an operation. I think I
I
would have
smelled the
passed out, to
burning
be quite honest,
flesh. Yes.
Andrea. Oh, no.
You have, like,
Oh,
this
I would
chainsaw
have
to
passed
cut through
out.
the chest and to crack the ribs
Oh, no,
open
no,
and
that's too much detail for the time of the morning. Oh, wow, too much detail, too much detail. But yeah, that's the pathway through. But yeah, you mentioned Spanish and you speak fluent Spanish. You know, I just know a smattering like, buenos dias. That's good morning, isn't
see?
it? Good day. That's probably as good as it gets. I did it to a certain level and then I stopped. But you've continued to do that. And it kind of, there was some kind of a game plan behind, as you said,
Yes.
learning languages and then also making it match with your passion for healthcare.
Yes, I was quite
You say you went to
interested in
Brazil? You went to Brazil?
I
I
did
mean,
go to
I thought,
Brazil. I did go to Brazil, so that was when I was learning Portuguese, Spanish and Portuguese are so similar, and I went every year for I wanna say 3 years, and, so at some point I was thinking of helping with the UN and fusing public health, but then I had decided to change all of that and come to after traveling, I took like a little bit of a break during my studies, and I went to South Korea and I went to Spain. I did a lot of different things, and I actually completed my degree while overseas. And I was studying. This is something we didn't talk about actually before this interview, but I was studying body shape perception and image in young college students, women, at Hanyang University. So I did lots of, qualitative and quantitative, but mostly these in-depth interviews. I did like 50, and I would speak with Korean college students and just see how they felt, what was their self-image like, and how did that relate to their health. And I had a lot of opportunity to really understand the cultural pressures that were coming from the media, from, everywhere from the K-pop, phenomena where everyone wants to emulate what they see, even if it means that they're underweight for their height and all of these kinds of things that
and
really was
these things
ingrained in
that
that
the
culture.
things that you're sharing there as well, Andrea, they are reflected in society right now. Image, self-image, the impact on young people, where are they getting their influences from? You mentioned K-pop, and I have watched the K-pop girls and the K-pop boys. They're really good. And they're like any boy band or any girl band that you might find, around the world. But it's interesting that what we're subjected to, the images that we see, the messages that we get from media, they have a very powerful impact on young people. They also influence me, even in terms of like fashion and dress sense, etc. So, you've always got that medical sort of like bent in when you're doing things. And to be doing research like that as well on body dysmorphia, people how they
Exactly.
can look at their bodies, etc. Why? Again, all with a view to helping people uh, to not be in a bad place. I think it can lead to an awful lot of depression and anxiety, for
Exactly.
example.
The study was literally called Am I skinny enough? And the answer, that I found was no. Even though there were, reports that I had from individuals who told me I want to stop losing weight. I went on this diet, and it's always extreme, by the way. It would be fasting, but to a degree that didn't make sense, over exercising, not drinking anything, eating or drinking anything but
Yeah,
water after 5 o'clock.
people
And
listening are gonna get they're gonna have the whole idea on how to, like, lose weight the wrong way. It
well, I mean, I
but you
talked with them about it, and they regretted it. Like, some were like, if they were okay with it, they were like, "I don't wanna get any skinnier than this, and I can't stop, I can't help myself." They had gotten themselves worked themselves up into this place where they literally had no control, and I think, when we bring it back to what we talk about, which is emotional intelligence, I do mindfulness every single day, 7 a.m. Central Time on LinkedIn every single day because I understand the importance of having control over your mind, and especially in business. But, academia is just the one step before the step that gets you into business and wherever you are in life. And so it was very concerning that there were so many reports, and it was all because they had no control over their inner world, because they were taking everything externally and just internalizing it and living out of that to the point of where it was unhealthy for themselves. I mean, there were some good things that I found as well, but by and large, and I don't want to sound too bleak, but it was just, and maybe the situation has changed. That was about 10 years ago now that I did my dissertation over there, that I had completed my master's in that, but it was a wake up call. And shortly after that, I think I had moved back to the US, took
you moved
another little
forward.
break. And then I moved to Spain, and then I found myself here, and I was like, I really want to study. I want to see the efficacy of the programs and communities that have these public health programs instilled, like, especially where there's maybe some things going on, food insecurity, and all of this, it's all connected if you look at the underlying causes. And so I just, yeah, I've had a lot of interest in taking care of people, whether it be physically or just mentally. And I think definitely if we can be aware of our situation and get some more self-confidence and self-esteem, we can mitigate a lot of the problems that would cause you to
Well,
just do
we
reckless
need
things with
more
yourself.
people. We need more people that are promoting that kind of positive, self-image and, as you said, self-esteem, self-care. They're all self-confidence, they're all mixed up together. But at the end of the day, human beings just want to, for want of a simple word, they just want to know, "Am I okay?" And you mentioned the outward, the way in which the world, I suppose, has encouraged us to look outside of ourselves uh, for our sense of self, when really it starts with inside. So that's a long one, but you, as I said, have got a
They can read
real
your book on it,
blend
right?
of
About managing
passion just for
stress.
human beings. Yes, okay, thank you for the plug, Andrea. Judge, I do have a book out called Navigating Stress. Thank you, Andrea, for that little segue into that. But that wasn't why I didn't set that up, guys. I promise that was not deliberate at all.
She's
But,
paying me
the
to say that.
psychology
No,
and the physical stuff, you are naughty. You are really naughty, you are.
I'm
So, yeah, but thank you for the plug. But human beings trying to look after their stress. Now, fast forward into the business world, what, as you said, I mean, for me, okay, I've been in business since 2012. So self-employed, doing the therapy stuff, moving more into the working with business owners in the last three to 4 years. That's been my sort of intro into business. But I don't have a team of people that work for me, and I don't have lots of people that I have to answer to. So, perhaps I'm a bit removed from the harsh realities of being around lots of people. Now, as the chief operating officer, can you tell me what that involves when you work for it's $1 million industry? Well, no, $1 million company that you work for is more than $1 million industry. You work for $1 million company called Shanks X. And I know that it's a very, very busy business because I've done a bit of research on that. But what's your role as the chief operating officer? Because people might not understand what that involves.
as the Chief Serenity Officer. No. Are we still live right now? It looks like it started over, I'm not sure. If
No,
we're
it's not
still live
started
right
over,
now,
Claire. I'm sure Charles will help us out. Charles, is this still running? So, as far as
Are
I
we
can
still
see
going?
everything, I think it's still going.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Come on.
Well,
I tell you, you know what? You're going
I
to
have
bring on my
another
one of my
monitor right
your
here. It
snacks
looks
or
like it
something.
started over. So sorry. Anyway, yeah. So it's
You're trying to give me an anxiety attack on
no,
and
no,
you're not
no.
going to make it happen. It's not gonna happen. No.
No, not at all. Okay, so yeah, it's not it's so being chief operating officer, I like to say that I just remove the barriers that keep people from going forward. And I help them with their day to day. I'm not concerned with yesterday or tomorrow. What do you need right now to accomplish your goal, to achieve the objective? What is necessary? What kind of blocker do we have? What is going on that we can remove so that you can go forward? It's that simple. And well, the solution isn't simple. Like the actual steps might not be simple. Maybe it involves going back to talk to a stakeholder. Maybe it involves like building something like you never really know. Um, so we do a lot of healthcare marketing and public relations. We do have a solid base in web development and consulting. And so there are a lot of moving pieces. And I feel like if you don't, I mean, just because you have it all together with your business partners or with your clients doesn't mean you have it all together with your team and vice versa. So it's like your team are also your clients. Your clients are your clients, your team is your clients. And you serve out of that. As in a position in the seat where I sit, I find myself just trying to serve, ask these questions that are really going to push us forward. And I know it sounds so basic, but I think that's kind of the key. When people overcomplicate things, then that's where it gets hard and you get kind of get stuck. And I think that in order to do that, there's so many times when you have to think beyond your own skin and go outside of yourself, which involves so much self-awareness, that I started realizing I have got to make sure that I and myself and other people who are leading businesses where they're dealing with team and clients, or even if they don't have a team, they're just managing their inner world in a way that is practical. So I don't just want to do only theory, and I'm not like you, a therapist, right? But I do know a thing or two about how to have some practical tips and techniques that are going to help you emotionally regulate so that you can continue to do operations, so that you can continue to have good conversations without, oh man, I messed that up. And it was all because of emotions running high and me not being able to think clearly or whatever. So, team huddles and like we have a meeting every single morning and we end it with mindfulness. And I really think that's going to start becoming mainstream because we've already seen it in schools, especially in Europe and in Sweden. They're putting in these mindfulness classes. I think it's getting here to the US. I think it's in LA now. They understand from the time that you are young, neuroscience shows you that a stressed out body puts your brain out of whack. And you can't receive anything, without taking care of that. We really sleep on that. But there's some things that you can do, including sleeping. That's really underdone. That will help you manage business and help you live longer. And you probably won't get Alzheimer's and all these kinds of things if you just take care of your health, your mental health.
You are such a deep fish. Andrea, you are one of the deepest thinkers I've had a conversation with for a very, very long time. And yeah, you're right about the mindfulness, and that is helping you to almost reset your body so you're not focusing on the wrong things. My kind of way in which I remind myself of where I am and checking myself is looking at what my thoughts are, what my emotions are, what my actions are. I kind of call it that kind of T cycle that I like to get into. And that is to pull you away from everything that's going on in life that might be distracting you and bring you back to you, bring you back to the moment. So, yes, your audio rooms are fabulous. They really are. And even I tune in, even though it ends up being like 1 o'clock-ish, I think in the afternoon for me. I still tune in. I get the benefits of just the relaxation. So you will be giving us a little bit of a checkout at the end, Antray. I didn't tell you that you would be, but you will be doing that for us. And
Okay.
yeah, mindfulness is interesting. I can't say that I'm an expert at mindfulness. I don't practice it to the degree that you practice it, but I think I go in and out of it throughout the day. So my tip as a business owner when things get very stressful for me is to have a break and to get away from the environment if I can. It's to break your state so that you're thinking differently, so you can possibly feel differently. And I do just go off and have a cup of tea or something, and I'll do some breathing, and
Mhm,
I can just feel my own heartbeat coming back to normal. So I kind of understand with stress that the normal bodily reaction, we cannot get rid of it. It's there for a reason. It's there as a signal. But sometimes the alarm's going off too often because there are just too many itty bitty things that we worry about nowadays, which are not important.
mm,
So resetting your body at least by breathing, because your body recognizes a calm breath as being a body that's safe. So you're
mhm,
really kind of
mhm,
just tricking your body a lot of the time by getting it to calm down, and your head and your body forget the two talk to each other. So yeah, head sees that the body is calm. The body sends signals back to the brain. The brain, there's a nice little loop between the two of
mm.
them, and then you just calm down. So I
Oh,
do
I
know
love
how to
your
get it,
voice. I could just
get myself back
hear
into
you
it.
all the time, hear you
And
forever. But yeah, it's the secret weapon. Like, I think,
try it.
tell
You
me.
are you are flattering me, but it's not all about me today. It's all about you, okay? It's all about you. And I'm really, really keen to know beyond the meditation, which I suppose we can practice on the spot if there aren't too many people around us.
Mhm,
What else do you do in the moment
sure.
to bring yourself back to ground yourself, for want
Mhm.
of a word? What do you do?
So, besides putting the hand over the heart and saying, I am okay, I'm safe, I'm loved, grounding myself in that way, I've started, like, I came up with an acronym because I feel like, no matter what walk of life or what your background is, what anything is, there's still, there's still these things that you can do that, like you said, kind of go beyond um, just the basics and the normal so that you can go a little bit deeper, but not like woo woo deeper. I just mean like in a helpful, practical way in the moment, what you can do now will help you further on. And so, what I mean, after taking that deep breath, which I had this acronym BOSS, breathe deeply, observe non-judgmentally, because that's kind of the second thing that we do is we start judging ourselves, good or bad. And sometimes that can still cloud your judgment and it can still interfere with the way that you do things, right? So if you just observe your thoughts, your emotions, your sensations, like non-judgmentally, then especially your thoughts and emotions, then you validate your own self. So, what I mean by that is like sometimes if you start feeling a certain way and you don't know why, that's okay, but at least observe it, acknowledge it. Because when you hide it, then there's all kinds of things that happen, fester, and grow in the background. And then it ends up leading to this stress, which directly affects your physical health, like your heart and all your nervous system is all shaken up. And over time, people were, I'm reading Outlive right now by Dr. Peter Attia. You should check out that book. And one of the things he talks about is how, people will come in like, oh, they had a sudden heart attack. No, they didn't. That was being worked on for 20 years, And so some of the things that add to it, in addition to diet and nutrition and lack of exercise, is stress. And so I think one of the things to do to reduce that is just observing what's even happening. Because if you're not aware of it, how can you change it? So if I observe myself, like, how am I feeling right now? Okay. And even if I don't have the time to work that out and do a little therapy session with myself in my head, I can at least acknowledge it and just be aware and conscious. And then you start making these connections, like habits like, uh-oh, every time I'm in this situation, I feel this way. So what can I do to mitigate that? And you start connecting the dots and things like that. So it's breathing, observing, but non-judgmentally, not saying it's good or bad, not identifying with it and becoming that thing that you're feeling, just observing it and then scanning your body to goes more into the sensations of like, how am I actually feeling in my body? How is this stress manifesting or whatever the emotion is? And then, savoring the moment, which just means being present in the moment. Gently bring yourself back to the present moment instead of checking out and going outer space. And so that's kind of like what I have learned to do has been very helpful in helping me stay grounded and practical and be able to operate in times of high stress.
It's a great acronym, and obviously the name is really the letters are very appropriate. BOSS, boss, but definitely the breathing, the observation, the other S was for
Scan your body.
scanning the body, and then the last one was just savoring, just staying in the moment.
Yes.
You know what? It sounds good, and it's an appropriate name for a boss as well to do all
Well,
of that stuff.
if it's approved by you, then all is well.
I just know that people have gone off on the wrong path about anxiety and
Mm.
stress and even depression. And it's about trying to avoid it. And that's impossible. It's impossible because it's one of the body's signals. So you don't really want to avoid it. But what you want to do is try and understand what it's trying to do, what message it's trying to give to you. If it were a messenger coming at the door, what would it be saying to you? And I know that anxiety is one that people say, I don't want to feel anxious, but anxiety is your life force. It's the up and down of life. It's the joy of life and the awe of it, and it's the low. That's what anxiety is, and it's a very future based thing too. So I know that anxiety is about looking in the future. We're going
Mm.
off in a time machine and seeing the future, and it's like terrible, terrible. And that's all in our mind. So the imagination is a powerful thing. And as you said, without getting to woo woo about the whole thing, which people use, I don't even like that term, Andrea. I think it's all good. I think it's all good. But without, getting too deep for this time of the day or the morning, it's like you need it. And what you have to do is understand how to turn it on, how to turn it off. And if it's your thinking that's at fault or the environment that's at fault, can you fix it in that moment? And if you can't, then it switches on to just being acceptance, just accepting things as they are, as hard as that can be. And then you bring in all the other phrases, which are kind of self talk words, like mantras, which I know you use a lot. But one of my ones is like, this too shall pass. It's seems to just calm me down. It's like, yeah, you're in the middle of something that you don't like, Joy, you're not enjoying that, but, something's gone wrong. Normally, it's tech stuff for me that's gone wrong. But it will in 5 minutes' time, Joy, this will all be a dim, distant, memory, and you'll be fine. And I have this really soothing voice that I just run through
You
my head,
do.
and that brings me back to normal. But, chief
And
operating officer, that's a huge role because I know that your company is growing as well and you're managing more people. But, beyond you finding the meditation, I like to talk to you really about finding your identity within the business and within your relationship. There's all of these identities that we've got, which who are we?
mhm.
Because you've discovered something else that you like, another passion that you like, which I'll let you tell everybody what it is. She's thinking, what is Joy talking about?
What
Music.
is joy to I feel like yeah, I really I do, so finding myself and, that is that's interesting. So, where do I begin, really? I think we are dynamic beings, and we are constantly changing. One of the things I have witnessed over time in this company is how, because I wasn't always COO, and actually, in fact, I manage less people. So that's kind of the neat thing, is as you grow, you empower people. I try my best to empower the team to be able to self-manage, and also we believe in team of teams. So everyone works cohesively, and there's a lot of empowerment, and accountability. And so when you can successfully have, even if it's a small group, 3 of 3 or 2 of 2 or whatever it is, manage one another, and then there is one reporting to you about how that is going. That, that's kind of really the goal, and it gives you back, time freedom. So now I am able to do, different than what I was doing with, Shankar Phonsale. Actually, the name of the company, Shanks, comes from Shankar's name, Shanks. Um, so that's his moniker, but we are all Shanks, and that is, another thing in itself. But there is something about being with your partner, because he's my partner in business and in life, that, you just have to understand that even as people in business, there is an identity, like you said. And without knowing mine, it was almost like even with leading meetings or going into how we do things, we just started finding that it's very different. Excuse me. The things that we like to talk about during lives, how we like to lead meetings, how we like to teach, it's very different. And so I had to wrestle with that a little bit, because there was this moment, and I told you this, about how it would be 6 in the morning and I'm talking about a topic yet again that I, am not as thrilled about as my partner Shankar is. And I have a choice of doing it or not doing it. And of course, I am all about consistency and support. So I do it. But over time, I'm like, I want to do some affirmations. And he's like, all right, well, let's do it. And so, but then he found that I was really good at doing that. So then I started to lead those things. And then eventually, it became me leading these morning affirmations. And he still does his business talks and conversation. And he teams up with Shanae Moret, and they do a lot of that about brand visibility. We are a brand building company. So that is what had to be an evolution as well, because we're passionate about companies and business owners that we know we can help because we believe in their mission. We want to support them. They are just really good at what they do. They have no idea how to show up online so that they can get more business. And so we help them do that in really practical ways, and in ways where they don't have to feel like they're going at it alone, or some, agencies or companies just really kind of just take your money and they're not helpful. But I have watched, the bending over backwards. And now it's not, I mean, not to the degree of unhealthiness. And that's something that was an evolution as well, but to the degree of, like, if you need me, I will help you. I will be there in some way, shape, fashion, or form, to make sure you're excelling and you see growth. And so, I love that
So,
with
so the
Shanks, I
business
love that with
has
Growth Academy. The
so
business
the
and
health
I have
so the
evolved.
healthcare arm that you came through initially, that so Shanks X has evolved from just solely focusing on healthcare to moving into more of the PR and the branding side. Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, well, it's funny you should say that, because our strength was always PR. We just focused a lot on, the website, and in the sense of people would ask for websites. So our CEO, again, my partner in business and life, Shankar Phonsale, is he's got an array of skills. And if you haven't checked out, if you didn't watch the interview with Joy, you need to watch it. It's the best interview he's ever done with someone. And you did just a phenomenal job of going through and tying in the thread and finding the through line. But it was always having this, um, this man that knows so much and has been in so many different fields, from law enforcement background to programming and web developing and running business. And he's really good at that. So what had happened was people would think getting a website was kind of the end of it all. Like, well, now that I have my website, I'm going to be found. Everybody's going to come to me. I'm going to get business right away. That's not true. There's a lot of SEO that goes behind that. But then there's also just showing up and being human and being a person, having people understand you, your brand, your ethos, and all of these things. But there's a way to do it where you can kill the attention of your audience, or there's a way to do it where you can capture their attention. And then there's a way to do it where you attract everybody and anybody and their moms and uncles and dogs, nieces, nephews, or you can attract your target audience. And so, what we found was because people needed so much help with getting seen, and then we would show up even in person before COVID, um, to represent and help give visibility. And there was so much public relations involved. And I'm talking with the media. I'm talking about getting our clients in the paper, getting them published in magazines, with the local medical society or whatever. And all of these different things, um, you know, it's an interesting evolution. I'll say that
It's
much,
a
but there's
campaign.
so much more.
It's a big PR campaign, isn't it? And with PR, people don't understand how to be visible. So that's something that's one of your strengths. And I think before people even get to the part of being visible, Antréa, there is that big fear around showing up. So me and you are showing up on camera now live, and I've even got my own little soundtrack. Gosh, that's like one of these. And yeah, I've got my own soundtrack in my head around being visible. And it's what do I look like? What do I sound like? There's a lot of other head talk that's going on. So to me, the whole PR stuff, it's that, what being visible, what are you making it mean? So when I'm
Mhm.
thinking about any kind of like anxiety inducing situation or stress inducing situation, it's what are you thinking? And the idea of showing up, doing presentations, all that kind of stuff, there's lots of stats around, even just doing a presentation. Some people would have rather, I don't know, die, which sounds really dramatic in itself, but they just think, no, I can't do that. So showing
That's
up is
actually
hard.
science. That's the statistically true that people would rather do that than to go on public stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
They've a they've asked for that kind of thing. So, you know, you encourage people to show up in a society where I suppose there are more outlets for being seen. It's not that people didn't show up in the past. There would always be situations where you'd have to be speaking to people, be telling people about who you are, what you do. That's always been the case. But I think in this modern society, all the social media, we don't have I was gonna say we don't have a choice. Of course, we still have a choice not to be seen, but, the way that everything works, you have to learn to be seen. Even if you're an introvert, even if you've got different views about stuff, try and work out what is it that's holding me back. So again, that's that mindset stuff. So I come into that sort of part of things, and you do that as well. But what are you thinking just before you turn up on camera? And I could write a whole list of things that I've been thinking just before coming on camera, and probably you could too. And the question then would be, were any of them helpful?
Mm.
No. Did any of them come true? Well, 1 out of 90 or something. Glitches. I'm always worried about things going wrong. And even throughout our talking today, I know that some of the sound's been a bit coming and going, and that's a bit annoying for everyone. But it doesn't stop me from just being me and continuing. And you. So showing up is
Half
practice.
the battle.
Nobody
Yeah.
is born Nobody's born doing it. And even if you take it to the celebrities that you see on television or radio, and you ask them, "Do you get nervous? Do you get, worried?" The answer would be, "Yes, I do." So
Well, I
we're
don't know about
normal.
this
It's a
new
normal response.
generation, Joy. They might be born into it. The newer generations, they have an iPad, attached at the hip when they come out. Yeah, and I think if you trust yourself, your audience will see that, and that's like the whole thing is about trust. It's about building trust, establishing trust through authenticity, and that's something that I had to learn. It's not like every single live that I did with Shankar before going into mindfulness was like dreadful, but there were times when I was like, I really feel like I am authentic and I hold my own when I express my heart about something that means so much to me. Um, and I believe it's really helpful. It's just something about doing it in a place that's coming from who you are that people will resonate with. And so I think that's maybe something that our viewers can take away is like, are you showing up? Do you trust yourself? Because if you're not feeling very secure, people will see that, they'll feel it, and the better way to, establish a connection with your audience is just to be you and learn how to express yourself in a way where it's useful because I personally don't want to listen to anything that doesn't help my life. Like, I'm not here for it. I don't have enough time for that. Um, but I think, when you have a true problem to solve, people will recognize that. And if they don't, they're probably not the right audience. Or maybe you just need to work on it. Like you said, practice. I mean, showing up and being yourself. Like, I feel very comfortable with you. You've made yourself um, that way because you are who you are. And, I think evolution, people are always evolving. But
People are evolving. I was going to say as well, Andrea, that it's taken me a lifetime to get to the point where I'm okay with being visible. It's been a very, very long time, from coming from a child who was quite withdrawn, quite
mhm,
quiet, I suppose. But this word always worrying about what other people think about you. It's a huge thing. I
mhm,
still think about that. What does Andrea think of me? What does that person think of me? I could write a whole list of people and say,
mhm.
what do they think of me? I could spend my whole life doing that. But at some point, you've got to, I suppose, work out who you are. And that word authenticity is as difficult as it can be to grasp sometimes. But just being in a place where wherever you go, you are always the same. So if I'm talking to my sister, I'm the same. If I'm talking to Andrea, I'm the same. If I'm talking to the King of the UK, I'm the same. I'd like to say that wherever I go now, I feel as though I'm being me. And that
Mhm.
wasn't always the case during my teens and my early 20s. So it's a growth. And this whole thing about
Well,
personal growth, and
mhm.
you know, you are now working in the personal growth space really overlapping that PR and the media stuff that you have to do with human beings. You're overlapping it with personal growth.
Yeah, and it's funny, if you would have talked to me a year or half a year ago, maybe I wouldn't be saying the same thing because I was all about the Seth Godin, like, consistency over authenticity, like, because you don't wanna show up and just, "I don't feel like working, so I'm not gonna work." Like, that's authentic, but it's not helpful, and it's not what you should be doing in the moment. You don't want a doctor that's like, "Oh gosh, I'm not digging this surgery. I'm just not gonna, perform my best because that's authentic." But I think it's somewhere in between, like, people wanna know who you are, and they wanna know that it's really you, and you have to have this consistency to show them who you are, but it still needs to be you. And sometimes you don't know what you is, and sometimes you is evolving, it's changing. So, I give myself grace because I don't know what I'm going to look like metaphorically speaking several years down the line, or, when I'm in my 60s versus 50s versus 40s. And we are constantly changing, but I think what is important to whoever you're speaking to is if you're solving their problem or not. Like, are you bringing to them something that is helpful, and are you letting them know that? Because if they don't know that you have a problem, that you have the solution to their problem, then you're probably not going to accomplish what your aim is, right? And then you just can't sell your services, your goods, and people won't love something they don't understand. And I don't know how that all ties back into well, I do actually. It comes down to self-awareness and understanding yourself, what makes you tick, knowing yourself inside and out. Like, I keep saying that. That is forever, to me, gonna be the most important thing in business, that you know how to self-regulate. All of those, 4 or 5 different components that really make up emotional intelligence.
Self-awareness, self-regulation, understanding what motivates you, throwing in a little bit of empathy, being able to at least try and work out how other people might be feeling so you can, go with that particular situation and be hopefully more compassionate and just interacting with human beings. And I think the interaction part of it is a lot around body language and tone of voice I'm constantly saying it to my partner. It's not what you said. It's the way that you said it. He gets fed up with me. But, it really is. You can say the same string of words and they mean something completely different. So human beings are, we are really attuned to, dare I say, danger, because we
Mhm.
are always in that survival mode in our head, whether we like it or not. It is always thinking, am I in danger? Am I in danger? Am I in danger? Sort of saying it, I read 4 times every second that might be running as as the backstory. So you can understand why we're on guard
Wow.
sometimes. But
Yeah.
yeah, we just have to learn that we are designed for survival.
Mhm.
That's basically it, and that's why we are always paying attention to stuff, and that's in a reason why we are always worried about what somebody else thinks about us. You know, it's actually what could they do to us, or will this endanger my livelihood or my breathing privileges? Well, what's going to happen? So human beings are very much around that, and so it's about creating a sense of safety, which I think you do in your room. And okay, I've just through years of doing what I do, I have learned to do that. It's my job to help you to feel at ease. It's my job to help you to feel comfortable. And it is through the power of voice, the power of body language, everything. So we've got about 4 minutes left, and I would love you to do us just a quick sort of body scan before we leave. I'm going to also just make sure everyone knows how they can contact you. So obviously, we're just going out on LinkedIn, but if you're watching from another social platform, then Antréa can be found on LinkedIn. That's Antréa Ferguson. I'll run her details so you can just see that very, very quickly. So if you're going to go to LinkedIn, this is where you should be looking for Antréa. And I'll say that Antréa, the E part of Antréa, she's constantly telling me off. It's got an accent
No.
on it. I can never find on my keyboard, but that's life, isn't it? I just have to go with that.
I made that
And then
accent
also,
when I was in grade school. Could you believe that? I decided
Andrea,
that I wanted everybody to pronounce Antrea, not Antria, not Andrea. It's Antrea. I put that accent on in the 4th grade and it never left, but it's not legally a part of my name. So now you know.
now we know exactly where it's coming from. And so
Yes.
Andrea with an accent, also part of yougrow.club is where you can find her. So that's the URL that you can type in to find Andrea. But lots of ways that you can come across her. And of course, as a COO of Shanks X, that's SHANKX. That's right, isn't it? I spelt that properly,
Yes.
Andrea.
Yes, and
Yeah,
so
great.
YouGrow.club is really, an opportunity to do everything that we were talking about, which is to show up authentically, but get some help, understand how to do it, why you're doing it, what motivates, what people it's not just about, like, do these things and everything is just going to happen. No, there's a process and there's a 4-day opportunity, a 4-day LinkedIn challenge to help you with your personal brand with Shanae Moray, who's built a community of over 1 million followers on LinkedIn and um, couple 100,000 subscribers to her newsletter, which is quite impactful. And then Shankar Punsle, who I've been talking about, who is a successful CEO of Shanks. And so, yeah, that's going to happen on August 8th. And that is at 8 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And what time, British time, is that?
Plus 5, which makes it 2 o'clock, I think.
All right, and 2 o'clock UK time. So, yeah, and then I actually begin everything, with, mindfulness. So
Right. So everybody who's been listening in to us, I really appreciate you doing it. Just hang about for a little bit longer. And Andrea, now got the names all muddled up in my head now. Just just behave yourself, Andrea. So Andrea is going to give us a little bit of an outro, something that she does every day of the week. She wakes up at something like 4 o'clock in the morning, not because someone's forcing her to, because she wants to. And she gets her day started with this very, very restful, mindful place. So please check out one of her mornings as well. But Andrea, Give us 30 seconds of your time and I will try and meditate.
Can you hear the music? All
If you
right.
want to, why not?
Okay. So just take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, letting go of any tension you may be hanging on to, softening your shoulders, your jaw, and repeat after me. I trust my intuition. I believe in my capabilities. Every problem has an answer. I know the universe is conspiring for my good. All things work together for good. And I could go on and on and on, but it's essentially affirmations and just believing in yourself and
That
not being
was
afraid to take the
enough.
day.
That was beautiful, Andrea. And you too do have a very relaxing voice. I love your voice. And when you do the meditations, and I manage to check in during the week, it gets me to such a calm place. So again, you've just done it to me again. We're 1 minute over. Very, very naughty, as I always say. But it's been a pleasure having you on and hearing your journey. Also hearing the difficulties that we have in just growing up and finding ourselves. But more than that, we have to find a way to learn how to calm ourselves. We live in a world that's very, very chaotic. So between your beautiful mindfulness and my lovely emotional intelligence and the therapy stuff that I do as well, it's let's get you back to a place where you've got a very strong, powerful mind and you're able to switch to that when you need to. And when you can't, at least you can sit in that space knowing that all things will pass. They really, really do. And Andrea's mantras and her affirmations are absolutely beautiful. And we're getting the thumbs up already, even though I'm 2 minutes over time. But yes, thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Joy, for
You've done it
having me.
for everyone too. I appreciate that. So and oh, we got more coming up, Andrea. Oh, you just you're just working your magic on people. What can I say? Thank you. Thank
It's
you.
been a
She's making me
pleasure.
look good, guys, isn't it? We're gonna have to have her back on. She's making me look amazing and making me feel good
Typical
too. So,
British,
I'm
so
like,
modest. Thank you, Joy. It was such a pleasure.
"Oh,
Thank you so much. It
I'm so
is.
happy
You are
to
so
be called
modest.
British, so modest.
Yes,
I'm
my
that
best friend
happy
is
now
British,
with, like,
so I know.
there's no stopping this woman. Where's the off button? Where's the off button? Woman, I really don't know. But we
Bye.
are 2 minutes over now, okay? So very far already, but yes, we'll catch up with you all very, very soon. I've enjoyed having my guest today, Andrea, with an accent on the E, Ferguson, who works as the Chief Operating Officer at Shanks X. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you today, and I'll have you back. We can talk some more about, I don't know, perhaps all that medical doctor stuff, so I can throw up or so. You know, I don't want to be a doctor. I don't think I'd be. Uh, we'll
Like,
catch up with you soon, everyone. Any questions? You know where to find me, Joy Langley. Look at LinkedIn. You can find Andrea as well. And catch up with you all very, very soon. So see you all soon. Bye-bye.
bye-bye.